Well, I work on the genetic basis of osteoarthritis. So osteoarthritis is a very common disease, affects principally older people. It's a painful disease. It affects the articulating joints. And my hope is to use genetics to try and identify what causes the disease, and through that knowledge to think about developing new therapeutic treatments. I think what we've realized is we don't know an awful lot about it. So the more that we investigate the disease, the more we understand the limited knowledge that we currently have. It's becoming apparent that certain key genes are involved in the disease and certain pathways. So it's potentially possible to intervene in those pathways. It's a more dynamic disease than we originally thought. There was one point where we thought that it was a fairly static disease, and it wasn't a disease that we could really seriously intervene with at a therapeutic level. But our genetic studies and the studies in the cell biology and other aspects of the disease is teaching us that there are potentials for us to intervene at some point. I do. I mean, what we're trying to do at the moment is understand what the genes are actually doing to influence the cells of the articulating joint. But in other areas of osteoarthritis, people are working on the development of novel treatments that, for example, impact on the pain side of the disease. So can we actually manage the pain of osteoarthritis, as well as understanding what are the fundamental causes? Also, can we develop biomarkers so that we can track the disease development and think about intervening early on as opposed to later on? So there's lots of new studies, scientific and clinical, underway in the disease. So it's a very exciting time to be involved in the research side of osteoarthritis. Well, because I work on them, I would say they're very important. But if you take an objective viewpoint, probably around about 40 or 50% of the occurrence of osteoarthritis at the population level can be accounted for by a genetic component. So in that sense, genes are very important. But there are other aspects to the disease that are also very important as well. It's been wonderful. Everybody's been extremely friendly. I met a lot of different colleagues in different disciplines. Heard a lot about the research going on in the university. I'm very impressed, and the city itself is a delight, so we've been very fortunate. I've had a fantastic time. I did. I knew of Jose Rienco. We've worked together in the past. We've collaborated on a variety of different genetic studies, and it was Jose that invited me to the university to meet with other colleagues and potential collaborators. They're very engaging, very enthusiastic, very intelligent, very smart, clearly hardworking, doing some wonderful research. There's a lot of enthusiasm at the university, which I'm very impressed with, and it's a delightful place to be, and I'm looking forward to collaborating and working with people in the future. I do. We've already talked about potentially exchanging students and fellows. And there's some techniques that we're developing in Newcastle, and it would be good to perhaps help people in the university establish those. And vice versa, there are techniques in the university here that we don't have in Newcastle. So it would be good to exchange students and staff and hopefully exchange expertise.